Greetings everyone and welcome. My name is Jack and this is the second part of the beginner's guide to the Alchemist, where we try to learn a new class by theory crafting a build from level 1 to level 20. Last time we saw the class overview of the Alchemist and we built it up to level 10. So now let us go straight into the video and resume the build from where we left it. Here we are, we were at level 10, we have just unlocked our expanded splash to deal more damage with our bombs, and the dual thrower free archetype feat, which allows us to throw bombs more effectively. Level 11 is not going to be as impressive. We are just going to gain a skill increase, which we put to Arcana, so that next level we can take the wizard feats for more spells. We also get a general feat, and here I took fleet for the improved movement speed. We get better proficiency in fortitude saving throws. Our perpetuals are now more powerful, so now we can cast up to 3rd level bombs. This means that the power level of our low level bombs is going to be higher. Maybe they deal a bit more damage, both direct and persistent. Very nice. Although damage is not really the strong suit of these low level bombs, we would probably choose them on the debuffs rather than the damage potential. We will use our advanced alchemy bombs instead for damage. It's level 12 and we can take a class feat, and we could take uncanny bombs to further increase the range of our bombs and make them a bit more reliable. However, we have invested a lot into bombs, and 30 feet I feel it's safe enough of a range. If that's not the case for you in your campaign, take this feat right now. But here I'm going to take Perpetual Breath instead. This allows us to gain more perpetual items from fields outside of our specialty. And here I'm going to choose the Toxicologist so that I'm able to craft infinite poisons. If there is no one who can take advantage of this feat, so there is no ranged character for whom we can poison all their single ammunitions at the start of every day, then this is not as good and you would probably want to take uncanny bombs instead. So here I am kind of assuming that we have this ranged character, a ranged rogue or a ranger or something like that, that can benefit from having every single one of their ammunition poisoned. Keep in mind that this seems bad because perpetuals are only low-level items, so low-level poisons will have low DC. However, thanks to powerful alchemy, whenever we use quick alchemy, and this is exactly what we use when we use our perpetuals, the DC of the alchemical items changes to our class DC. So we are able to use these low-level poisons very effectively, increasing the DC and making it more reliable for them to trigger. At level 12, our increases in Arcana are also going to pay off because we're going to be able to take Expert Wizard spellcasting for an extra higher level spell slot. I'm also going to take Impeccable Crafter to make it easier to critically succeed, also thanks to Assurance, whenever we try and craft alchemical items. So we are good at crafting items even without using our infused reagents. I don't know how useful this is, but if you want a backup item, maybe a circumstantial one that you wouldn't prepare every day, just ready for the use in your bag at all times, that's how you do it. Level 13, another skill increase. We have kind of neglected stealth, so let's bring it up to master. And for the ancestry feat, we can take Swift thanks to the Sylph Heritage, and this is another 5-foot speed increase, which is not cumulative with other ancestry skill increases, but it is cumulative with fleet. We get better proficiency in light armor. We probably use our elixirs for this, so this is not very useful. We also get weapon specialization, and our area of effect of our splash damage now is even higher, 15 feet, because we do have expanded splash. So we are able to cover a pretty huge area of effect. Level 14, for a class feat here I took Extend Elixir. Again, I could have taken Uncanny Bombs, but the ability to double the duration of our elixirs, 4 elixirs that last 1 minute or longer, really propels these elixirs into the stratosphere and makes it so they last through multiple combats and perhaps even the entire adventuring day. So I really like this feat and I took it instead of the other bomber feat. For our free archetype, let's get a bunch of extra wizard spell slots thanks to Arcane Breath. And since we increased stealth up to master, we can now take Swift Sneak, allowing us to sneak faster while in combat. Can be circumstantially useful if we ever end up doing that. Level 15, more ability score increases, increased constitution, wisdom, intelligence, and dexterity. We also get our first legendary skill increase, and of the 3 skills we are investing into, stealth is certainly the one that has the best legendary feat, so I'm going to prioritize that. For our general feat, you can take whatever you want here, but remember at level 17, as always, you want to take Canny Acumen to improve your proficiency in will saving throws. We also get Alchemical Alacrity. We can now use quick alchemy and spend up to 3 batches of infused reagents to make 3 items at the same time. Now this is incredibly expensive, and I basically cannot see us ever wanting to use this. With the 2-action version, yes, maybe sometimes it synergizes kind of with double slice and dual throw, but 3 for 3, I don't see us using that. And we also get increased proficiency in reflex saves. Level 16, we can get another class feat. And this is a feat which looks absolutely insane. We can drink an elixir which has the infused trait and lasts 1 minute or more. And now this elixir lasts forever. This only works on elixirs that are half our levels or lower, and we can only use this on 1 elixir at a time. So would you like to be permanently concealed? Well, now you are. And remember that for us, being permanently concealed is extra good. But if you want another effect, you can just change this every single day, actually even multiple times per day. This is so good. At level 16, we also have access to a very powerful dual weapon feat, which is 2-weapon flurry. This is flurry of blows, action efficiency, which allows us to strike with 2 weapons. Since we took the dual thrower feat, this should apply to bombs as well. So now if we start the turn with 2 bombs, 1 in each hand, we can throw both for 1 action, and then maybe we can use our 2 actions to cast a cantrip or one of our wizard spells, or retrieve an item so that the next turn we can use quick alchemy, and once again we have 2 bombs in 2 hands. This is an alternative to double slice. This does not give us a bonus to throwing the second weapon, but maybe we don't really care about that bonus because we want to deal AoE splash damage. And with 2-weapon flurry, we can do just that. Maybe our hands are completely empty. We were caught in an ambush. Well, we can use quick alchemy twice. Nowhere does it say that we cannot use it twice in a row. And all of a sudden, we have 2 bombs in our hands. Maybe they are our infinite bombs. So it just didn't cost us anything. And then we throw both of them with the 2-weapon flurry. Very efficient, very nice. We also have the skill feat. And as I said, this is going to be the legendary stealth skill, which is legendary sneak. We now become very good at hiding. Level 17, we get our second legendary skill increase. We have to take Arcana here because of the feat we're going to take next level. We also get an ancestry feat, and here we're going to take Eternal Wings to have permanent flight. Our Alchemist class DC increases to Master, and our perpetual items can be 11th level or lower, bombs or poisons, thanks to Perpetual Breath. We go to level 18, and here I finally took Uncanny Bombs. We can also take, thanks to our legendary proficiency in Arcana, Master with Spellcasting for 2 extra spell slots, 1 given by this feat and 1 given us by Breath, Arcane Breath. And we also get, because we can, the legendary Arcana skill feat, which is Unified Theory, which allows us to use Arcana for any recall knowledge check, which requires also skills other than Arcana, like Nature, Occultism, and Religion. Level 19, our last legendary skill increase, and we're going to put it into crafting. We also get the last general feats, and you can take really whatever. Here I took Die Hard to increase our survivability. We get Master Proficiency in Light Armor, better now than never, though I assume we're going to use elixirs for this. And we get to level 20 for our final ability boost. Wisdom, Dexterity, and Intelligence, no point in raising Constitution, so, you know, we might be a little bit stronger or a little bit more charismatic, depending on your preferences. We get an extra skill, and as always, I'm going to take Performance here to celebrate the end of our career as an alchemist. We get our capstone skill feats, and here we have an uncommon feat. You could take Mega Bomb, but Plum Deluge is just amazing. This allows you to draw 3 vials of a contact poison, throw them in the air, and this poison will affect all creatures in a 20-foot burst within 60 feet. So remember to take a powerful contact poison at this level so you can make the most out of this toxic nuke we can suddenly cast. This looks a lot of fun and also very powerful. For our final archetype feat, we can take Advanced Arcana, and we can take a level 10 wizard feat, which is Scroll Savant. We saw it in our wizard build, and this gives you the ability to make scrolls as well during our daily preparations. So our daily preparations are insane. We're going to craft a bunch of alchemical items, like tons and tons, and also add in a couple of scrolls for utility purposes. And our last skill feat is going to be the legendary skill feat for crafting, which is craft anything. As the name implies, we can now craft a bunch of things. And this concludes the leveling of our Goblin Alchemist. As we saw, we got better with our bombs, but we also gained better perpetuals and more things that we can do with our perpetuals. The support that the dual weapon warrior archetype still came in clutch at level 16, and in general the level progression of the Alchemist feels more like a martial than it does a spellcaster, because the feats we unlock at each level are fun and impactful, whereas for many spellcasters the feats are kind of middling and don't feel as amazing as these kind of feats do. However, just like with spellcasters, right now we don't really have a clear idea, and we cannot make a clear evaluation of how the Alchemist would play, because to be able to do that, we need to look at their formulas and figure out exactly what they do. So let's do just that in the Alchemical item snapshot. All right, let us start with our level 1 formulas. Let's start with our bombs. If we want to deal damage, we could add Alchemist Fire, which deals the most amount of fire damage at a bit of persistent fire damage, or Acid Flasks, which deals less direct damage but has more persistent damage. However, here I think I'm going to prioritize the debuff. Bottle Lightnings don't deal that much less damage than Alchemist Fire, but they also flat-foot targets on a hit, so this is a nice debuff for the entirety of our party. Again, this might be circumstantially useful if you've got lots of characters that can easily flank the enemy. Maybe this is not as powerful, but not knowing what the party composition is, I'm going to get this. And speaking of great debuffing bombs, the Skunk Bomb deals little damage, but it's incredible when it comes to debuffs. First, it debuffs also splash targets, not just the targets that are directly hit, although the splash targets are treated as having succeeded by one step better their saving throw. However, even on a success, the target of the Skunk Bomb is sickened. This means that they take a penalty equal to 1 to all their checks, including attack rolls and DCs. So it's an incredibly powerful debuff that does not spontaneously expire. Instead, if the enemy wants to get rid of this, they have to spend an action to recover. So even when they spend this action, they're not guaranteed to being able to get rid of this condition. So it's a very sticky condition and quite the debilitating one. And if you hit an enemy and they succeed on the saving throw, they're still sickened. And if you miss an enemy and they fail their saving throw, once again, they're sickened 1. So it's quite reliable. And on a failure, the target is not just sickened, it's also slowed 1 while sickened. So it's a slow 1 effect, which potentially lasts for more than 1 round. And critical failure is just combat encounter winning, because it blinds and then it sickens 2. And the slowed 1 is even harder to get rid of. And it also has some secondary effect of applying a bad smell and making the target easier to track, which is more circumstantial but very flavorful. This is an incredible debuffing bomb, and I'm sure going to take it. At this point, we could add another bomb like these damage-dealing ones. However, I feel like, especially at this low level, tinkering a bit with poisons can be useful. It's certainly something that you want to try out and see how well it works for you. The Giant Centipede Venom is a nice damage increase for us, for our javelins, or maybe for the first strike of a martial, so preparing some of these seems pretty reasonable. I will also get a mutagen, and since our armor class is otherwise bad, I think I will take the Drakeheart mutagen. This gives us a +4 item bonus to armor class and also a bonus to perception checks, which applies to our initiatives. However, keep in mind that this also applies as a penalty to will saving throws and reflex saving throws. So if you are facing enemies that target these saves, you might want to refrain from drinking your mutagen and instead accept the penalty to your armor class. So still wear light armor that you can afford so that your armor class doesn't completely tank when you're not using this mutagen. In case you misjudge what the enemy is able to do, keep in mind that you can get rid of this mutagen by activating the final surge effect, which is a double stride action, which can be reasonably good. One thing that you might want to take at this level are elixirs of life for healing. However, the Juggernaut mutagen effectively is better for healing because the elixir of life restores 1d6 hit points and gives you a bonus to diseases and poisons. But if you don't care about this bonus, then the Juggernaut mutagen gives you 5 temporary hit points. So it kind of always guarantees you roll a 5 on your d6 roll, which is very nice. We also have bonuses to fortitude saving throws. Again, this mutagen gives penalties to will saves, perception, and initiative rolls. So this is actually an item that you might use in combat and not before. We can have one more formula, and I'm going to take an elixir here. This is an elixir which lasts for 1 hour, and it gives an item bonus to perception checks, so again, initiative bonuses. And this bonus is +1, unless we are trying to find secret doors and traps. In that case, the perception bonus becomes +2. So perception is a very highly rolled skill, and the duration of this elixir is incredible, so let's take it. So as you can see here, we have exactly 6 infused reagents, thanks to our alchemical familiar. So we could prepare 2 of each of this item. For our first adventure day, this is probably what I would like to do. And then, you know, if you find that a lot of your party members like being affected by Eagle Eye elixirs, maybe you don't like poison very much, you can drop a couple of venoms for the next day and prepare instead 4 Eagle Eye elixirs, and you can really mix and match these preparations. A wizard of this level would have, let's say, 3 spells. If they use their bonded item, we can quote-unquote cast 12 alchemical items. Of course, they are not as powerful as a magic weapon, but, you know, an extra d6 on a strike, the skunk bomb debuff, the armor class, the temporary hit points, these are not negligible effects. They seem very useful. Again, you can tailor this list depending on your party composition. So let's say you have healing characters, or you don't feel the Juggernaut mutagen is going to do much, then you can go for the Quicksilver mutagens for ranged characters, which would provide them bonuses to acrobatics, stealth, thievery, and so on, and also dexterity-based attack rolls. So again, for rogues, this is incredible. Though this has a huge drawback in the fact that it gives a penalty to the maximum hit points and a penalty to fortitude saves. It also lasts only 1 minute, so you probably want to give this to your ranged character so that they can drink it at the start of the combat. It would be like entering a stance for them, basically, and gain this incredible bonus to rolls and to movement speed as well. I would not recommend using this ourselves, though. We are a bit squishy. We are not as tanky as a martial character. Our armor proficiencies are not great, so I would rather use other mutagens on ourselves. But your party might be very interested in this mutagen. In general, when thinking about mutagens, just ask the target player if they are okay with taking the penalty. Some players don't like penalties at all. Even if the effect would be beneficial, the thought of suffering from a penalty for them is not, they don't feel comfortable with it. So if they already know they're not going to use the item, just prepare something else. Okay, let's level up and see how we evolve at level 6. First of all, we gained archetype wizard stuff. We gained cantrips. We can take electric arc for an offensive cantrip. And I'm also going to take shield for a defensive cantrip at will. For our spells, I'm going to prepare a very useful spell twice. And that spell is True Strike. For 1 action, we gain advantage on our next attack. And we also ignore circumstance penalties or flat checks due to the target being concealed or hidden. So if we want to really land a bomb like a skunk bomb or something like that on a powerful enemy, then we can cast True Strike and increase our odds of hitting significantly. And I'm going to prepare it on the 2nd level spell slot as well, so that we have more access to this powerful effect. As far as our formulas go, we have invested pretty heavily up to this point in bombing feats. We have Calculated Splash, we have Foul Lobber, we have Burn It, and we also have Debilitating Bomb and our Field Discovery, which makes it more efficient for us to produce bombs with our advanced alchemy. So probably at level 3, I would get both Acid Flask for this very good persistent damage and the Alchemist Fire, the moderate versions, for the single target damage, which also synergizes with our Burn It feat. So these are like our damage dealing bombs. I also took the Dark Vision Elixir for 1 hour duration Dark Vision. There is a spell that does that, but as we established, our alchemical items are more efficient than spells. If we can free up a second level spell slot for a wizard by having this item, then we are gaining huge value from our alchemical preparations. I also like the Eagle Eye Elixir. Now the bonus it provides to perception is +2, still for an hour. So I'm going to learn the upgraded version of this elixir. And I am going to actually prepare here the lesser Elixir of Life, which now restores 3d6 plus 6 hit points. So good emergency healing potions. Also, we can use it out of combat. It's pretty nice. I'm also not done with bombs. As far as moderate, so level 3 bombs go, we can take the Ghost Charge Bomb, which is very useful against undead, and especially incorporeal undead. So this deals lots of damage to these kind of creatures. It's also positive damage, so it might trigger weaknesses. And then I'm going to take Frost Vial for cold damage. Again, a typed damage, which might trigger weaknesses, which has the added effect of inflicting a movement speed penalty, which might come in handy if we're facing already slow enemies. We have also just unlocked access to the moderate Mistform Elixir, which lasts for 1 minute. So for one combat, we can be concealed, and this synergizes very well with our heritage reaction. I will also add the moderate version of the Quicksilver Mutagen, and since now we are using Mistform, we might consider using this on ourselves to enhance our attack rolls with our bombs. Keep in mind that this lasts for 10 minutes, so we might be able to precast this in combat. However, the loss to temporary hit points and the penalty to fortitude saves might mean that maybe we want to be very careful with it. And I'll also take the upgraded version of the Drakeheart Mutagen for those circumstances where we are not using the Quicksilver Mutagen and we're being more careful. Keep in mind that in just one level, we are going to unlock Perpetuals, so we can choose 2 level 1 bombs to craft at will, and I'm going to show this at this point, despite it being a level 7 feature, because I'm very excited about it. And of course, I'm going to choose the Skunk Bomb for it, so we can apply this debuff. We don't care about the low damage, it's all about the debuff, and we can apply it very reliably, because its DC has scaled to our class DC, which is 22. And if we were able to find a lesser version of like Alchemist Fire for the persistent fire damage, which gets the bonuses from all our feats, then we can take that as, you know, a more damage-oriented low-level bomb, which acts as an alternative to our electric arc. If not, and if applying flat-footed is still relevant, again, we have maybe a ranged rogue and our party is not very good at inflicting the flat-footed condition, then Bottle Lightning is a very good option for our second perpetual choice. We can see here we have 11 infused reagents, and the great thing is that when we use Advanced Alchemy on our bombs, we get 3 of those. So we can prepare 6 acid flasks, 6 alchemist fires, or maybe we can prepare 9 and 3 if we really like fire damage and there are a lot of fire vulnerable enemies. Or the other way around, if instead there are many fire resistant enemies. We probably want the Eagle Eyes, well, not the lesser one, but you get the idea, and a couple of emergency Elixir of Lives, why not? We do want the Mistform Elixirs, the Quicksilvers, and the Drakehearts. And you know what? We can leave these 2, if we want to, for quick alchemy. So maybe we need to toss an emergency Ghost Charge. We have it. We need more Elixirs of Life. You know, we can have this as a backup plan. Although, still at this level, using this for Advanced Alchemy 2 more times is still a very tempting proposition. So maybe I'll just get a couple more Mistform Elixirs just to be very safe and be sure that I can use Quicksilvers more often. And then I'll leave just 1 for my flexible slot. But you can really tailor the Alchemist preparations to your preferences. Just be careful about how inefficient it is to use Quick Alchemy. And that is all for level 6. Let's move on to level 11. Let's start with our archetype as before. Since we invested into the dual weapon warrior dedication, we have not gained many spells. We just have an extra 3rd level spell slot. You can prepare an extra true strike here, and that's probably a good idea. Alternatively, just for variety's sake, here I took time jump to get a bit more action economy efficiency. If we use quicksilvers and we specialize on throwing weapons, we need to be relatively close to the enemy, and we might want to run away quickly, and time jump is just a get out of jail free action efficiency way of evading dangerous situations. But, you know, an extra true strike here is just as good. Since we are level 11, we just gained access to greater bombs. And for damage purposes, I'm going to take, again, acid flasks and alchemist fire. But depending on the campaign, on the type of enemies you face, lots of undead, lots of enemy weak to cold for some reason, then you might want to change and mix up these choices. Bravo's Brew is a level 10 elixir, which lasts again for an hour, and it gives a bonus to will saving throws, which is greater when attempting will saving throws against fear. Since Drakeheart gives penalties to will saving throws, Bravo's Brew is a nice way to offset this penalty, since it is an elixir and not a mutagen, so we can combine the two together. Our will saving throws are also not exceptional. They're not bad, but they're not exceptional, so it's nice to have a bit of a buffer there. We can also take the greater version of the Dark Vision elixir, which lasts for an entire day, so we can prepare fewer of them. Again, we might not need this if our party does have access to Dark Vision, but I'm going to guess that probably there is someone who can benefit, so here we go. We can also prepare the Greater Eagle Eye Elixir. This lasts for an hour and gives an incredible +3 bonus to perception, so +3 is pretty good, and an hour long is even better. At level 9, we have probably taken the upgraded version of Elixirs of Life for 5d6 plus 12 hit points of healing, so it's nice to see these elixirs scaling consistently with our character levels, although they do it quite slowly, so at the level before the scaling, these elixirs probably fall off in effectiveness quite a bit. Still, extra healing is always nice to have. In just one level, we are going to take Perpetual Breath to be able to craft infinite poisons. So we probably want to take a poison for this purpose. We've also just unlocked our Perpetual Potency, so this poison can be up to a 3rd level poison. And a pretty nice 3rd level poison we could use is Graveroot, which deals 1d10 poison damage, which scales up to 1d12. And then 2d6, it also applies Stupefied, so it's good against casters. It's just better than the Centipede's Venom. So we're going to learn it and keep it in our back pocket for when we can craft infinite versions of it. Speaking of Perpetual Potency, we want to have for sure a level 3 bomb to make our Perpetual instead of a level 2. So if we were not able to find a recipe for Bottled Lightning and you didn't have the time to craft it, let's just learn this recipe right now. Again, you can take Alchemist Fire if you prefer. Just have a level 3 bomb recipe ready to make it your Perpetual so that you can upgrade your level 2 one. So we would take the Skunk Bomb, the upgraded version, or we could go for the Tanglefoot Bag, which applies a huge movement penalty. This is particularly good against flying creatures, which then had to escape to get rid of this massive penalty, costing them an action and an action with the attack trait at that. So this is a very good option. Actually, I changed my mind. I think that I would like the higher version of the Skunk Bomb instead of the Bottle Lightning, but really go with your favorite here. Hopefully you can have all of these by buying them in shops or crafting them yourself. Finally, we have also been somewhat neglecting poisons. Maybe we want to use them sometimes and we want to use some high-level poisons for whatever reason. And the Wyvern Poison is a huge upgrade on the damage our poisons deal. It deals 5d6 poison damage on its onset, and then it deals 6d6 and 8d6. It's just huge amount of damage. Maybe our marshals would be thankful if we can apply this poison on their weapons. The first strike becomes very threatening if we are facing enemies that are likely to fail the Constitution saving throw. We have 17 preparations. As always, let's make some bombs. We like Bravo's Brew. It lasts for an hour, so we don't need many of those. Same for the Dark Vision Elixir. Same for the Eagle Eye Elixir, but probably everyone in the party wants this. So let's make 4 of those. Let's make 4 elixirs of life for emergency. Mist form elixirs are still the main defense mechanisms we're using. Couple of quicksilvers, just in case we want to be more accurate. Couple of Drake Heart to increase our survivability, which leaves us with 3 reagents for quick alchemy. Seems reasonable. We could prepare 2 extra poisons if we feel we need those, and end up with 2. Again, the power of advanced alchemy for me makes quick alchemy very unappealing if not used with perpetuals. So I try to leave as few reagents as possible, but right now we have such a huge list of things that we can craft on the fly that it's more appealing to leave unused reagents. So 3 seems like a reasonable number, maybe even 2 if we prepare a couple of poisons. We also need to change our signature formulas because we want level 3 items now. So let's remove the previous one, and I will take the skunk bomb and the tanglefoot bag. Next level, might as well mark it up now, I'm going to take Raverit. If there is no one that can benefit from poisons, then you can just take the bottle lightning and it's good on its own. All right, let's move on to level 16. Now we dedicated ourselves more to our wizard archetype, and we can see the effect here. We have a bunch of spells. We got our arcane breath, so more true strikes is certainly something we can do. 4 true strikes, we can have 6 true strikes, why not? Or we can have a bit of fun with niche 3rd level spells. Temporal Twin trades 2 of our actions to basically replicate a strike action of one of our allies. So we can copy the barbarian and have them strike something, or maybe the fighter to, do a huge crit against something. Our actions are probably not worth as much as our high-level barbarian strike, and the same is true for our 3rd level spells. So this might be fun to use. You've got a bunch of options as a wizard, so just take your favorite. This is an uncommon choice, so your DM might not even allow this. It just looks fun, so I took it. But you can only take fun options so many times. At the end of the day, what you really want are broken options. So let's take Heightened Invisibility for those times when Mist Form Elixir just isn't enough. Speaking of broken spells, Wall of Stone is a nice control effect, which doesn't really care much about our spell DC. We can use them to isolate targets, buy ourselves time. Very versatile, very powerful effect. And at level 6, we can prepare Heightened Stone Skin to offset the effects of the Quicksilver mutagen. This lasts for a pretty long duration. It has some very nice synergy with that mutagen. And this is all for our Archetype Wizard. What our Alchemist gets, we can catch up with our Greater Bombs, which we had just unlocked previously at level 11. So we can take Greater Bottle Lightning, Greater Ghost Charge, and the Greater Skunk Bomb. These all have high item bonuses to their attack rolls to compensate the fact that we do not get runes. Let's also upgrade our Drake Heart mutagen so that the bonus to the armor class keeps up, and our Quicksilver mutagen as well. Hopefully at this level we have enough crafting proficiency and money that we don't have to stress too much onto keeping on strict number of formulas to learn. 2 other formulas that we really want to know are the Major Life Elixir for this extra healing, and the upgraded version of our Mist Form Elixir, which lasts for 5 minutes, so hopefully for multiple combats. Our perpetuals have not changed. For our preparations, we have 22 reagents. Let's do the usual with bombs, acid flasks, Alchemist Fire, couple of dark visions, a bunch of eagle eyes, healing, thank you, Mist Form, Quicksilver, Drake Heart, bunch of skunk bombs. And I really like skunk bombs. Let's make 9 of those. And we still have 4 reagents for quick alchemy. Maybe you want 6 so you can prepare a bit less things. We really have a wide list here, and it's probably going to look a lot wider if you invested your off time into crafting and some of your money into expanding your recipes. So remember that at this time we can use quick alchemy to fabricate bombs and use 2 weapon flurry, or we can use double slice to be very efficient with throwing our bombs in combat. So let's conclude our Alchemist class overview by going up to level 20. First, we conclude our wizard spell list. Let us remember that we can have 3 scrolls thanks to the level 20 scroll savants and our master arcane proficiency. And these 3 scrolls can be up to level 6 spells. So first of all, let's duplicate our Wall of Stone and Stone Skins. Let's get our boast spells. And here you can pick your favorite. You can cast extra Stone Skins to cover up the rest of your parties. You can have more Wall of Stones. You can have more invisibilities. I'm going to prepare 1 of each, or really any other spell you like. So here we go. For the 7th level spell, we have a very action-packed turn. So we can certainly benefit from extra actions to strike, especially with our bombs. And if we can target the entire party with this effect, then that's great. So we can haste everyone. And finally, at level 8, we like being invisible, so we would love being super invisible, and therefore we are going to take Disappearance. If you feel like you have trouble with the Drake Heart debuffing your will saving throws, you can try and get this uncommon spell, Mind Blank, for a day-long bonus on mental saving throws. Alternatively, if you can get your hands on a rare spell, you could take Anti-Magic Field if your party doesn't have many spellcasters. And I don't know if alchemical items are considered magical. I would argue they are technically not, especially bombs. So this would be a very interesting pick, though not one that I see coming up very often because, again, the spell is rare. And probably this is going to hurt your party more than it's going to benefit. For the preparations, remember to take the upgraded version of your bombs. So your major Alchemist Fires, your major Bottle Lightnings, why not even Tanglefoot Bags and Skunk Bombs. You also want true Elixirs of Life for a whopping 10d6 plus 27 hit points. The +7 armor class bonus Drakeheart mutagens feel great. Quicksilver mutagen gives a +4 bonus to range attack rolls and a +20 bonus to your speed with a 1 hour duration. Although this also inflicts 40 hit points of damage, so that's quite scary. Eagle Eye, the major version of Eagle Eye Elixir was available at level 16, but I'm not sure if we can take it right at that level, but surely at level 20 we will have unlocked this. So +3 bonus to perception checks, pretty good. If we are concerned about our Drake Heart and we cannot get Mind Blank, then Bravo's Brew is a nice alternative. It's not immunity, but it's a pretty good bonus. And let us not forget that we unlocked our capstone ability in the form of Plum Deluge. So we should take a high-level contact poison for this ability. Here we go. A level 20 common poison, which is called Tears of Death. And its effect is 18d6 poison damage and paralyzed, which ignores the 1 minute onset because of our feat, followed by 25d6 poison damage, and again paralyzed, this time though for 1 minute. And if after that minute of paralysis they are somehow still alive, then they take 30d6 poison damage for good measure. And this happens in an area. So yes, that's a good capstone. Of course, we need 3 vials of this to trigger Plum Deluge. So we want to prepare 6, so we can use it twice every day. Of course, you can then add every other major version of the bombs you really like. At this point, I don't expect you have any trouble adding any recipe to your alchemist book now that you are such a high-level alchemist. During our day of committing war crimes with poisons, we would also prepare, of course, our major bombs. Let's make 9 of those, and then I don't have the major acid flask. Let's add that. Here it is. 9 of those, please. And why not a bunch of Bottle Lightnings for good measure. I don't know if people at this high level still need the Dark Vision Elixir, but let's prepare it. Why not? Yes, a couple of Drake Hearts, Eagle Eyes. Let's make 6 True Elixirs of Life. Again, these are 8,000 gold points, so every day we are generating infinite cash, basically. Of course, we cannot sell these because they lose their potency after 1 day. But replicating this effect with cash is probably not possible for any character. So this is a very cool aspect of the Alchemist. And then a bunch of our Stinky Bombs, a bunch of our Tanglefoots. Whoops, I prepared Wyvern Poisons instead of Tears of Death. We don't want to prepare those. And since I messed up the preparations, now I don't know exactly how many infusions I have left. But at this point, as you can see, we have a huge amount of choice, a huge amount of flexibility. Wizards wish they could do what we are doing with our alchemical items. Of course, we wish we had alchemical items that were as powerful as 10th level spells. But we can hold our own with our potent buffs and debuffs. Last thing we need to address are our perpetuals. Now we can use 11th level items for perpetuals. So stuff like greater bombs, for example, the greater skunk bomb and the greater bottle lightning, or greater tanglefoot if you feel like flat-footed at this point is not really that significant. And of course we can change grave root, which is a level 3 poison, for a higher level poison. There wasn't an 11 poison that really struck out to me, so I took the wyvern poison, which is the most damaging. So even at level 20, having your first strike potentially deal an additional 5d6 poison damage for a marshal, I don't think it's bad. And if you've got an archer character that every time they strike they can deal 5d6 and then potentially increase that to 6 and 8d6 every time they strike with the ammunition, now that's pretty good. And this is all for our alchemical item snapshot. So let's wrap up the video and get to the conclusions of our character. Oftentimes when I finish one of my character builds, if you were to ask me what class do you want to play, I would answer you this character I just made because they look amazing. Which is, I think, indicative of how well designed many of these classes are. The Alchemist is no exception. It was incredibly satisfying trying to figure out this class, which is extremely complex, and whose true power is hidden in the minutiae of the alchemical items and the benefits that these items can provide, not just to themselves, but most importantly, to their party. More than any other class so far, the Alchemist looks like the quintessential support character. So if you love playing wizards in 5th edition and support characters in general, I think you're going to find the Alchemist extremely satisfying because of how rewarding it is to play a Swiss Army knife kind of character that can have the right tool for every kind of job. Our control is not as impactful as that of a spellcaster. Our damage is not as good as that of a spellcaster or a marshal. We have a very unique role to fulfill. Any spellcaster and any marshal on a party, which also includes us, is going to perform way better. And I think this can be an extremely satisfying playstyle. On the other hand, I can also see why you would want to avoid this class, because it is extremely complex. And it can be, I think, punishing if you do not plan meticulously your alchemical item selections and preparations and the way they interact with your party and the situations you're put into. So it is 100% not a class for beginners. It is 100% a class for people who every day during the daily preparations have to completely revolutionize what the character sheet looks like. So it's certainly not a playstyle for everyone, but for the min-maxers out there, for the people who want to tinker with the character sheet at every chance they get, I think the Alchemist is a perfect class for you, and one that I would recommend. So with that being said, we have concluded our class overviews for the core rulebook. I don't know if I'm going to continue these videos for the other classes. The Kineticist just came out, and I'm very excited to go look at it. It's my favorite class in the 1st edition Pathfinder. And I really like the Magus and the Summoner, so eventually I might make videos of these classes as well. But let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of these videos. And until then, I thank you all very much for listening, and I'll hopefully see you all in the next one.